great way for celebrities to kind of promote themselves, because brands are a way of like expressing what sort of angle, what you represent.
And your style in general. Like.
Yeah, and your style in general.
I think it's potentially dangerous. I think it almost makes a mockery of the fashion industry. I think you have to be really careful what kind of celebrity is sort of endorsing the product or collaborating on the product. When you just put a celebrity name behind it, again, I think it makes the fashion brand become quite novelty, and I'm not a fan myself.
I think sometimes it can work really well, but sometimes it's just a bit overhyped and overpriced.
Well, I think it's pretty cool, but it also kind of draws a lot of people's attention, and yeah, it boosts up the sales and stuff. Yeah, I'm very interested in fashion marketing, so yeah.
I think fashion overtakes the functionality.
It outweighs,
I think
definitely.
That's very risky going into technology and fashion, because right now you can make a whole bunch of mistakes collaborating the two. That's just my opinion anyway.
Yeah, I think that can, again, potentially be really interesting. It depends where you're going with it. I think there is definitely a boundary where it becomes less fashion and more technology. Is that still fashion-based? I'm not sure. I think it comes around to the fashion is art, art is fashion, that kind of argument. But yeah, I think as far as technology and fabric construction and fabric design is very interesting. I think it can really push the fashion industry to a new and exciting level.
I don't know, I personally wouldn't go for anything that was sort of technologically fashionalized.
Well, yeah, nowadays like there's more like applications and like online grocery. Online shopping, and I feel like it's expanding the fashion industry, and it is the future of fashion.
Yeah, mine's got to be Supreme and the North Face. And the North Face collaboration with the different designs on the raincoats. That's my favorite.
Yeah, I'd say Nike when they did a collaboration with Supreme as well.
There's been several that have been very exciting, very innovative. To me, it's always one that is innovative as opposed to outrageous. I think it's got to be something that's exciting and new, but without just, it has to have a concept, it has to be considered. I can't think of a specific off the top of my head.
The Ronnie Fieg for Asics. I really like their stuff. Like Ronnie Fieg, the stuff he does for Asics is incredible, but I haven't actually ever managed to pick up a pair of his trainers just because they're just so rare.
Maybe like Cara Delevingne and DKNY. Yeah, I think it's pretty cool. Yeah, there's a nice collaboration.
Do you know what, yeah? Kanye West is just doing stuff right now. I'd like to see him be a bit more creative when it comes to a bit more of the lower end price brands. If he does something with, I don't know, H&M or something like that, that would be great.
I would like to see Future collab with North Face. I have a thing for North Face right now, I don't know. I have a thing for North Face, but Future's my favourite rapper right now, favourite artist. And I think he's got, you know, good style, good taste.
Oh, I would really love to see McQueen really push it now, this maybe next collection. I think it would be really exciting to see. I think since Hero took over the brand, it's really been a bit introvert, and I think it's sort of gone back on itself. I would really like to see it become that conceptual narrative that it was when Lee McQueen was running it himself, and really push that another step forward. I think that would be really exciting.
I honestly don't know. Probably someone like Rockwell Power for Adidas, because just sort of some of the really bright colours and his illustrations are incredible.
I would like to see Kendall Jenner and probably like Calvin Klein or something. Yeah, I think it would be really cool.
I sort of fell into textiles as a bit of an accident, really. So when I went to art college for my foundation, I always wanted to paint. So I just like painting, and then they said to me at art college, do you not want to do fashion? I was like, well, I don't know, I've never really thought about it before, never sewn anything or anything like that. And they just said, go do that at university, so I did. And then in my application, I applied for fashion design because I didn't really know much about it. So I just applied everywhere for design and went to Rochester, and they sort of said in my interview, oh, we think you're more textiles. So I think that was from my sort of hand-drawn strength, really, through painting. So then I sort of fell into fashion textiles. Over summer, we sort of had to think about, you know, what was our inspiration, what would be the final major, and it was really sort of thinking about different things that you've worked on for 3 years at university, what inspires you, your strengths and things. So I chose Yorkshire to London as one of my ideas, as it, you know, it represents my hometown. So they thought that's a really good strength. You know, I had lots of primary images from my home. So it was sort of my collections, the silhouettes themselves, they're sort of a representation of me growing up and like sort of my personal feelings of not fitting in, I suppose, in a Yorkshire town, and then the sort of, well, personal sort of journey to London really, and the different inspirations in London, all the new technology, and that's sort of something that really inspires me. So the collection itself represents a sort of confidence aspect to it, and I think that's represented through all the different fabrics used and a sort of armour look to it. Thinking about materials, I like to work with new fabrics, and throughout uni I've sort of tried to make new textiles rather than just doing screen printing or digital printing. So I went to the cloth house in London and I found a really interesting spacer mesh. I thought, oh, I've not seen that before, like not seen it on the catwalk or anything. And then I went back to get a lot of it, to toile in it and start to work with that. But they're completely sold out of it. So I emailed lots of different companies, new textile manufacturers and things like that. And luckily, a company got back to me and they agreed to sponsor me for that mesh itself. So all the mesh in my collection, that's through sponsorships. I got all that fabric for free, which is great. And it's been really exciting learning how to dye it. And the company themselves, they've not actually worked with that fabric in a fashion sense before. So it's used actually for high-tech trainers and for mattresses, because it's sort of, it traps the heat within the layers of the mesh, and it's got like really thin wire in between. So it was really exciting to learn how to dye that, create a new print on there, and then send those to the company so they can advertise as something on their website as a new technique that has not been done before. It's been really interesting, I think, this year, learning how to toile. I sort of knew I always wanted to do fashion. So it's been really exciting developing that this year, and I say from the start, it's just been a continuation of like trying new techniques, really pushing those, and working with interesting fabrics. And I really want to continue that. Something I would like to try is 3D printing. I just want to try and 3D print some aspects of my collection and have that sort of plating and things like that in there. But you know, it's not, the cost of it is still very, very high to be able to do that as a student. And I think in a few years' time the cost of that will come down, so it might be nice to try and go into working with that and continue to sort of experiment and develop new textiles. I think it's really important to go to exhibitions, and I've got my favourite artists that I'm always sort of, I suppose, are in the back of my mind really. So, you know, as much as I like Monet, I like sort of all these contemporary artists, and I think it's really good to be aware of, you know, websites like Days Digital and Wonderland, and I'm always looking in all the fashion magazines and seeing what all these artists are coming out with. And I think photography really inspires me as well, just like an image, and that sort of triggers something to think, oh, that could look nice on fabric, or it's like a frosted sort of image. How could I do that onto fabric and sort of get inspiration that way? McQueen has always inspired me. Like, he's just, I don't think anyone could ever replace him, really. Just his very, very early collections, like how he's developed, you know, all the techniques and things. It's quite interesting. I went to his exhibition the other week, finally got to go and see that, and he'd used a lot more fabrics than I thought he had done before. So he had experimented with latex, and that's something I've tried as well in my first year and things, and just this very wide experimentation of things and not being afraid to really push the boundaries. And also Aries van Herpen, who does 3D printing. I think they're my two favourite artists. Love to go and be a freelance print designer and work for a company, either designing prints for them or having my own label maybe in the future. I mean, prints can apply to products and interiors, so that could be a market for them. But I think, personally, I think fashion's the main place I'd like to see them. Today I went for an interview for a freelance print designing position, so I think I've got that, really. So working for different companies, freelance designing, we've got Graduate Fashion Week coming up and new designers, so there'll be a few shows over the summer that it'll be really interesting to meet the industry, and they come and see our work, so there could be some very exciting opportunities there that arise. And I was going to apply for an MA, but I've chosen to leave that for a few years. I sold my work last year through an industry collaboration that we did with uni, and that was to iFix International, and they sort of came to our uni, chose prints that they wanted to take around the world and sell at different trade fairs and things. So I sold mine to an Australian menswear designer company called Xanarobe, and that's been put into production, and I've seen every stage of that, and they sell that in Urban Outfitters and a few different places. And then I sold 2 of the prints to an American fashion house and one in Spain as well, so I suppose that's, could credit that. Nick Knight, if you know, in his team, because I really love fashion films, and I made one for my collection, and that was working with a guy that's just started his MA at Central St Martin's. So he was really good, and I like that whole sort of three-dimensional aspect to the work. So I think when you create a collection, you want to sort of create a whole image around it as well, and a setting that you see that. And when you're designing, you're sort of designing in a certain mood, and I think that comes across in fashion films. It really represents your collection.